Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me Kagem. Okay, I'm back. So as you know, I'm doing 2 videos a week now. Today it's like luxury hot topics, but we're going to be talking about the luxury Hunger Games, like this new era of luxury shopping that we're in. Tell me if you like this format where we do questions and then we do like a bunch of smaller topics. Are you going to be interested in that? You will let me know. All right, so I did a I did a stick on my Instagram. I was like, ask me questions about bait and things like that, and you did. So I got a lot of great questions and comments and statements. So let's start off with the first one. Okay, so let's get started with the questions and the statements slash comments, and then I'll react to them. The first one is from Sokoko, who is one of my favorite luxury YouTube channels. Of course, you guys, you know her. Yeah, so she did the sticker and she said she noticed that at her home store, Bates pre-spend requirements seem to be stratified, with clients who began pursuing quota bags in 2020 and beyond needing to buy much more bait, almost as if they're paying a penalty for jumping on the H bandwagon when it became super popular. Loyalty has always been rewarded at H, but I've noticed an even bigger contrast in the last couple of years. Thoughts? Great one, Coco. This is really interesting. And when I saw this, I was like, ooh, this is so interesting. So like bait pre-spending being higher for people who are coming into the game now. I agree with you. And I do think that's happening because I've been hearing similar things. And I kind of get what you're saying, like paying a penalty for being introduced to Big H now, as opposed to maybe shopping from the brand like a few years ago. But I think there are a few things. I think first of all, I think 2020 was a come to Jesus moment for Big H in many ways. And I think that the brand has really pivoted their business model. I think that they realized, like, you know, in 2020, no one knew if luxury brands were going to survive. This was like a force majeure black swan moment with C19. People thought that it was going to be 2008 again. As I always tell you, 2008, when everyone was eating porridge and we're all like characters in a Charles Dickens novel, you know, people really did think that was going to happen. So I think it's possible that Big H is also kind of trying to recoup and rebuild their image after giving away so many pandemic offers. Many people got pandemic Birkins and Kellys, and then once everything kind of chilled out, Big H was like, no, we need you to pay for those BKCs with a lot of pre-spend. And you're right, many people are spending a ton of money to get offers right now. I think for those of you in America, I mean, in pretty much every location, it's 2 to 1. Canada is 2 to 1. One of my subscribers told me that actually in one Canadian city, it's absolutely 3 to 1 for like the Birkin 25. It's, you know, huge in Asia, and even in France, like they will expect you to buy things at regional stores. So I think that Big H want to, in some ways, like train the new clients who have come to the brand about how things work at Big H. And once you have kissed the ring and been around for some time, that pre-spend might go down over a little bit of time. But we do know that it is harder for people to get offers anyway as time goes on. I definitely get what you're saying about paying a penalty for jumping on the Big H like bandwagon, like even like right now, like 2020, 2021, 2022, I beg your pardon. But I think it's more Big H like training clients to be like, if you're shopping at this brand, you have to buy other bits and bobs from other métiers to show loyalty to the house so that you can access the 3 holy grails. I feel like that is what's going on. But definitely, I think this is a really interesting take, and I need to chat to Coco, like me and her. We need to have a chat because I think that this is a really interesting take, and I definitely agree with it as well. And I think that it makes sense because that window of time in 2020, I remember when people who had never spent a pound, penny, shilling, euro were walking in to Big H boutiques and being offered. I think Big H knew that in hindsight, like once 2021 came and once 2022 came, in hindsight, that was a mistake. But it wasn't their fault. Everyone thought it was going to be 2008 again. It was going to be the end of the world, literally act of God, financial Armageddon. That's not really what happened. Big H is doing great. She's got her ponytail on. I was just reading about the results that came out a few days ago. Honey, Big H's ponytail is literally right here. She is swinging it around. The brand is doing phenomenally well. So yeah, I think that they want the people who kind of jumped on the bandwagon around the pandemic, they want them to get in line and to know the tea of how it really works at Big H. So yeah, great point. The next one here is anonymous, please. Okay, no problem, anonymous. No, I know of a few people over 2.5 to 1 pre-spend in Canada. Is this a normal ratio? Okay, so like I said, one of my viewers told me that it's 3 to 1 for the Birkin 25 in one Canadian city. I think that, yeah, this is actually normal now for Canada. I think this is normal because I've chatted to a bunch of you who are in Canada who've received offers, and those of you who are waiting for offers. To me, Canada is minimum 2 to 1. And I feel like, to be honest, if you get a Birkin, Kelly or Constance in Canada 2 to 1, you're lucky. You know, I think a lot of clients are spending, you know, like you said, 2.5 to 1, 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1, 4 to 1. Canada's incredibly competitive. There are many clients, there are many boutiques, but each boutique is very competitive. You know, Toronto, obviously, you know, you've got Calgary, you know, you've got Montreal, you know, you have all these really competitive locations. So I think obviously maybe if you send me a DM privately, we can chat about what size you're looking for, but definitely the Birkin 25, the Kelly 25, the Birkin 30. I think I saw a unboxing of a influencer who got a really beautiful Birkin 25 in Canada. However, she waited many years. I mean, she waited for years for that offer. So my kind of feeling is, if you're not willing to play the Big H game in Canada, they will just not really prioritize you, and you'll have to wait a very long period of time. But yeah, 2.5 to 1. You said you know a few people over 2.5 to 1. Yeah, that sounds normal to me. That doesn't sound particularly odd, particularly for the Vancouver location. I've heard that's incredibly competitive. That doesn't sound odd to me at all. But obviously, I would like to know what those people are buying who you said are at 2.5 to 1. I would like to know what they're budgeting. I mean, if you're at 2.5 to 1 and you're buying like homewares, you know, that's not really going to make the offer come quickly. But, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I know you're so tired of me saying it, but diamond fine jewelry, the fine jewelry that has gemstones. Big H is using a lot of pink sapphires, which is super pretty in a lot of their fine jewelry pieces. The watches, ideally with diamonds or gemstones. And then the really expensive ready-to-wear, like the cashmere prêt-à-porter, the leather prêt-à-porter, like the coats, and then the really pricey homeware, so the really expensive blankets and pillows and things like that. And then they also have luggages, so even that. So those are really the métiers that everyone should be shopping in if you're trying to get like a fast offer. But yeah, that ratio isn't odd. It doesn't surprise me, and it's not odd at all, particularly in a very competitive location. So like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, like those are competitive locations where there are a lot of clients with a lot of money and people are ready to spend money. Lula, who's also a YouTuber, go check out her channel, she's fantastic. Lula LV. Does bait you bought online count, not through an essay or bait bought in various stores? It's my understanding that bait online does not count unless you have told your essay, in which case it's not really an online purchase. So let's say you see something, you're like, oh, I saw this online, and then you have to make sure that your essay is credited for the sale. But no, an online purchase doesn't count towards your pre-spend for the BKC. And yeah, bait bought in other stores absolutely doesn't count. And in fact, I was even thinking about myself, like for Paris, like when I go this year, I wouldn't want to buy a ton of bait in different boutiques. I want to buy bait with one essay in one boutique and spend my whole entire bait budget with that person, so that you can, you know, build that, you know, financial relationship. You know, how people say it's a relationship, and I always tell you guys, I'm married, honey, okay? But that's like my joke response, like I'm married, but like I would definitely spend if you are buying bait, you stick to one store, and if you want to buy bait in other items, or you want to buy, bait in other boutiques, or you want to buy other items, it should be under your husband or boyfriend's profile or your partner's profile. That's definitely how I see it. And then the next question from Lula is, does it matter how far apart your purchases are, other than getting an offer quicker? I don't think it matters, but something I have noticed is that Big H really wants clients to come to the boutique. So they want you to do FaceTime. You know, like how when you're working in a job, like the people who get promoted at work are the people who the boss sees often, you know, like the people who know how to do FaceTime at work. Those are the people that get promoted and get great like job opportunities. I think it's very similar at Big H. Big H really wants you to come in. Some of you are in situations where you are shopping remotely and it's fine, but I've noticed that the people who are shopping remotely are already established at the boutique, so it's not a problem. I think if you're like on your first offer or your second offer, like you really need to be going into the boutique so that you can be seen. And also, does it matter how far your purchases are? Not really, but I wouldn't keep it too far apart. Like if I lived in a country with a store, maybe at the end of every month, maybe just popping into the boutique once a month, like at the end of the month you get your wages and then you go and have a nice shopping spree. I think something like that is nice, but I would be doing like once a month at the end of the month, or maybe every 2 months. It depends on what you're buying. If you're buying like small things like silks and small purchases, like you buy a mini Kelly Dollator bracelet and you buy a silk scarf, you probably need to be going in much more because the purchases are not like that big. But if you're buying like a diamond watch, or you're buying a bracelet, or you're buying a gold bracelet, I feel like you could go once every 2 months. But I would still prefer to go maybe once a month. Like that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I lived in a country with a location. Yeah, and that's kind of how I would see it. The next one is from SEIM. Base and pre-spend is wrong. People with excess cash see it as a flex though. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think base and pre-spending, like it's part, like I said, part of the luxury Hunger Games that we're in at the moment, and this is like the new era. And I've noticed even with the lads, like men who buy watches and men who buy supercars, because I like watches and cars, like it does become like this kind of thing to flex on each other with, like, oh well, I spent this amount and I spent this amount. I think most of us who watch this channel, like that's not how we see it, but yeah, I definitely see what you mean. People see it as a flex, yeah, for sure. Miloholic79 says there's a formula to Big H photo bags: spend big, brackets, fine jewelry and watches, ye shall get. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that some of you have to be so tired of me, particularly in the Facebook group. Guys, please go join if you haven't joined the group. You're missing out on so much. Please, it's linked below. But I'm always saying, guys, just make it easy on yourself. Just go buy diamonds and fine jewelry. I wish I knew that in January. I didn't know. Like, I was so green. And I was telling one of you privately, we were having a chat, I was so delusional about Paris in January. I was completely delusional because I didn't know. I really believed all the like lies I was reading in groups and social media, like it doesn't matter what you spend, like, you know, that's absolute nonsense and rubbish. It does matter what you spend. Now I know better, and because I know better, I just want to share, and I want us all to be empowered with the information. Like there is absolutely a formula to Big H scoring, and definitely a formula for now. It's absolutely fine jewelry, watches, and really pricey prêt-à-porter. I feel like that's really what you need to be doing for those of you shopping from in a home location. But I think if you're going to Paris, fine jewelry, watches, just those two, just focus there, and then buy everything else that you like. But that's really where you need to focus. Yeah, totally agree. Trisha says, is homeware still a thing? Dishes, mugs? Great question. I don't feel like homewares counts the way it used to count in really competitive locations. Like, I feel like in a really competitive location, unless you're buying like the fully thugged out mosaic table sets. I remember when I was there in January, and you can see my Big H vlogs at FSH, I remember seeing this like beautiful table set, and it was completely thugged out, like all of the mosaic bits and bobs, and I swear it was like thousands and thousands of euros. I don't even remember how much it was, but it was an absolute fortune. I think if you're buying the full table set at once, I think that counts. But I think like maybe a mug here or there, I don't know if that, of course it counts towards your BKC bait spend, but I don't feel like that the Big H SA is necessarily going to be quite like excited about that if you buy one. I think if you're buying like 2 or 3 Soleil mugs and you're buying plates and you're buying a bunch of other bits and bobs, I think that counts. But I think if it's like 1 or 2, no. And by the way, I love their porcelain. So, and because I'm going to be going to Paris soon, I'm super excited to see their porcelain, and I do love their mugs. But yeah, I don't know if they really count anymore. I feel like they used to count a lot, but not as much as they used to. Monroe Revived said, it's all about the Benjamins. Oops, I meant bait. Who am I kidding? Same thing. It is. It's all about bait. I mean, look, I feel like, and for all of the houses, they want to see you spending. I'm pretty sure those of you who love Chanel and you're watching this, if you go and buy Chanel fine jewelry, I'm pretty sure you're going to be, you know, sent really cool things, and you're going to be invited to events, and you're going to get to see all kinds of really amazing things that are happening. Like, it's all about the bait. It is what it is. Bree said, my essay said she would try and have my quota bag for July, but hasn't delivered. Do I spend more to keep me top of mind and pass one-to-one competitive store? Bree, you and I, we have chatted before. I know what country you're in. I think that for your location, for right now, the competition of your location, you have to spend a little bit more. However, I would like you to involve your husband / boyfriend in this, because I do think that in your situation, if he gets involved, I feel like the bag will be released faster. Some of you, you know, we've chatted about this, like it's just easier for men to get big H offers. It is what it is. I think there's something kind of old world about big H, something very aristocratic. I think it's just a little bit easier. If big H were like, you said this, I'd be like, no, I didn't. I said big H. I didn't say you. We all know big H. We all know big H's, but should you spend more to be top of mind your pass? I don't think that your location's one-to-one anymore, babe. And I think that's the situation that we're in at the moment. There are locations that were one-to-one. It's not one-to-one anymore. I think that your specific location is 2-to-1. And even if I was there, I would get myself to 2.2. And then I would just start nudging the SA. I think that's what you need to do. You need to get to like 2.2 for your location. So yeah, but also send me a DM privately if you want to chat, but that's what I would do. Axon Jackson said, do online purchases count positive towards your history, or best to spend with an essay? Yeah, so like I said, they don't count unless your essay is the one who basically you tell them, oh, by the way, I'm going to buy this online and all of this, but they really don't count. So I would just spend it with the essay in the boutique and build your history that way. Fashionably Unemployed said, I still think a lot of people lie about their spend for some reason. Oh my god, girl, so many people are lying. I mean, I'm sorry, but again, in the group I do chat about this as well often, because I watch a lot of BKH unboxing vids. I watch tons of videos based on my interests. Like, I'm interested in the Ruli, so I look for Ruli unboxings. I'm interested in the Cinetic, so I look for Cinetic unboxings. At the moment, I'm really obsessed with the Constance, so I've been looking at those ones as well, and of course the Birkin and Kelly. So many people are lying about what they're spending to be offered Constances, Birkins, Kellys, and a lot of non-quota bags. People are not telling the truth and are not being upfront about what they're spending. Now, I know you're going to be like, well, you're not owed that information. You're not owed the information. I agree, I'm not owed the information, but I do think if you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram page, or you have a TikTok page, you owe it to the people who are following you and supporting the growth of your page to be a little bit transparent about what you spend. I just watched a video recently, someone unboxed a mini Kelly. She was very transparent. It was so refreshing. I watched the video, I was like, wow, oh my god, it's so exciting to watch a YouTuber be transparent. I was like, love, love, love. And I sent it to a bunch of people as well, like, guys, go watch this video, like, you know. I've literally, like, a bunch of you guys who I chat to, I've like showed it to you guys, like, she's transparent, you know. So there's just so many people who are lying about what they spend. So I want to talk about a really good example of a lie, okay, or an omission, which is, I think omitting material information is kind of similar to kind of lying about your spend. So let's say I go to Paris, okay, which I am, I'm gonna go in autumn, winter, but I get to Paris, I get me, we're talking about me. I'm not coming for anyone, I'm not subtweeting anyone, I'm talking about me. if I get offered, I would love to get a shadow Birkin, by the way. So let's say I get offered the shadow under my husband's profile, okay? I know what my husband spent because I'm going to tell him what bait to purchase. And then he gets the offer. And then I say, hey guys, like, I'm so lucky. My husband got a shadow Birkin in Paris without really spending anything. And I'm so lucky because he didn't really spend anything. But he bought shoes. He bought dress shirts. And then he buys a watch. I mean, I'm sorry, but if he buys all of that, or he buys a jacket, or he buys men's fragrances, etc., and he buys all of those bits and bobs, but I don't say that, I feel like that is me being like omitting information that's actually very important, because it helps to kind of explain the offer. Don't get me wrong, in Paris we know, you can be a unicorn. I was telling Edwin about the whole unicorn thing and the people who just walk in, and he's like, yeah, but you're a hustler. You grind it out and you hustle for everything you have, and you fight, you work hard. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that person who's a unicorn. I just know that if I score, it's going to be because I had a strategy and a plan. So you get what I'm saying. So I think that a lot of people are not being truthful. A lot of people are not being truthful about what they're spending in the boutique to get offers. So if we put Paris to the side, there are many people who aren't saying the things they buy. So for example, another thing now that people do is they don't say what they buy, but then when you go on their social media profiles, you see fine jewelry, you see watches, you see really expensive Croc SLGs, which, by the way, I want to chat about because I feel like they count. So I wanted to chat about things which I think count that we don't really chat about. So I'll talk about that in a second. I hope I don't forget, because I always forget everything. Whenever I say I'm going to chat about it, I always forget. But there are many people who are lying about what they spend. So I just want to be clear. When I go back this time around, if I'm successful, I'm going to come on here, I'm going to tell you every single thing that I bought. If I'm not successful, I'm still going to come and tell you what I purchased, because I feel like it's really important for us to be transparent. Before I forget, because I'm going to forget, just super quick, because I know there are a lot of you who are shopping for Big H in your local boutiques. I feel like there are a lot of kind of categories that count that we don't really talk about. I feel like the Croc SLGs count. They're so expensive and they're so much pricier than like even like an exotic bag from Dior or Fendi. They're very hard to sell. Even for those of us who like exotics, the price point, I think in euros, like the Croc Kelly wallets are like, the alligator Kelly wallets, I beg your pardon, because I think those ones are alligator, they're like 11,000 euros or something like that. They're super pricey. They're a hard sell, so I think they count to build your profile. For those of you who like exotics, I do feel like the exotic SLGs count. So like the alligator Kelly wallets, like I said, the Croc compact Kelly wallets, those Jeep clutches, I think count in Croc as well. I think those count. Another thing that I think counts is Big H's luggage, because Big H is coming for LV's wig, honey. I think that those count as well. Obviously the furniture counts too. So I think you have things like that which we don't really talk about, but I think that those things count. Another thing that I think counts is the exotic orans. I think they count. I think the Croc ones really count because they're really expensive, but I think the ostrich orans also count. I feel like shoes are just too popular right now, but I feel like the exotic options of like the orans, I feel like those ones count at the moment for sure as well. So I just wanted to mention that because I know I'm gonna forget. So I was like, I'm gonna forget. You know, I've done that in so many videos. I'm like, guys, I'll tell you in a minute, and then I forget when I'm rewatching the video. I'm like, oh god, I forgot. And you guys are too nice to like call me out on it, so I'll try not to forget. Okay, so now I wanted to chat about something because I've written notes here so I don't forget, because I'm always forgetting. Something that I saw on TikTok, because I've been spending more time on TikTok. I'm over there, by the way, you can come and say hello. My TikTok is more like my life in Tanzania though, but I'll have luxury TikToks every now and then, but it's more about like my personal life, so like my lifestyle. But I was on TikTok watching like Hermes unboxings, Louis Vuitton unboxings, and Chanel unboxings, and I came across this thing called Birkenstock, which is like the hashtag for Birkins. It's called Birkenstock. So there's someone who is like talking about how she doesn't like the Big H game. I forgot her name, but she was talking about how she doesn't like the big H game, but she's not an Hermes shopper, she's not an Hermes client, she's someone who doesn't like Hermes's business model, and it's kind of like, I think her thing is kind of just talking about that, and she has a lot of followers and a lot of people agree with her, of course, because many people don't like the big H game. And it was just super interesting just to like read the comments, because I was reading people's comments, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm not angry at all. Everyone has their thing of things that they like and don't like. I like luxury shopping. I like shopping, high street shopping, department stores, flagships, going to, I remember when it was our honeymoon in 2019, Edward and I were in the US, we went to like, you know, really famous American shops that we've heard of, like Bed Bath and Beyond. We're like, woohoo! You know, I love shopping. I don't really care what it is. Luxury shopping, high street, I'll be there. But many people are very offended by the idea of having this pre-spend game. But something that I have noticed, which does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I see this mainly on TikTok, is women are really being dragged really hard. And by the way, it's not by men, it's not the lads, it's really other women who are being quite critical about women who play the big H game. And it's really other women, honestly, because a lot of the comments on this TikToker's like profile, a lot of them are from like other women who are like, oh, I would never spend that money. I would never spend that money. Like, I'd rather go buy a house. I'd rather buy crypto. I'd rather buy stocks. I mean, I think those like responses are quite simplistic, and they don't take into account that many people who shop from luxury brands are so phenomenally successful and comfortable. It's actually terrifying. There's so many of you who I've talked to, if people knew how successful you guys were and how Gucci you are, like people would be crying, because some of you are so freaking successful and you're very private. I chat to many of you and you have so much. So when people say, oh, I would never do that, I would buy stocks, I would buy a house, it's like, you don't know how many houses people with Birkins and Kellys have. I think big H is so financially prohibitive. It's such a, like, just to like enjoy the brand, it's very financially prohibitive. So most people shopping from the house at this point, most people can afford to shop from the brand. And even people who maybe are doing lots of other things in order to afford to shop at the house, like maybe reselling their whole collection or whatever, I don't know. People still have a lot of very high income, because I've told you guys before, it's really about income. And I think that's something that a lot of these like TikTok videos that are against the Birkin, against the big H game, fail to take into account. So this TikToker, she was, you know, she really kind of went on this massive rant. It's like a long rant. I don't have anything against her, by the way, you know, nothing against her. She's entitled to her opinion. I'm not angry at all. I just thought it was super interesting. I think something that people who don't like the big H game forget is this is about income. So many people are, you know, have a really, really high income and can afford to shop at Big H every month, can shop at Louis Vuitton every month, and can, you know, go to Paris like a few times a year to try and score bags, or can do whatever, or can buy Rolexes and Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Like, many people can afford to do that, you know. And I think sometimes on this channel, I hope I haven't given you guys the wrong idea, because sometimes I've said, well, you know, luxury brands want people who can, you know, really spend a ton of money and not think about it. I think luxury brands want that, there's no doubt about it. But to be honest, like a lot of the people I think right now who are shopping at luxury brands and doing and like helping luxury brands make their money, I know a lot of you are like, oh, they're middle class people, they're people who, you know, can't afford, and people who are fighting to make the spending work. No, they're not. There are many people, many of you guys, by the way, who watch my channel, who are so successful. You've got very high incomes, and yeah, you can afford to go and buy a Diamond Kelly bracelet, and you can afford to buy a bunch of bait, and for you it's not a thing. I think a lot of the people on TikTok fail to kind of understand and realize that people who have phenomenally high income, so many of you are so successful, I beg your pardon, and you watch my channel, and you guys are the people who can afford to shop at Big H. You can shop at Rolex, you can shop at Patek and AP, and for you guys, it's not a thing. And I think that's a very uncomfortable reality for a lot of people who don't understand the pre-spending game, because let's be clear, like Big H is not the only brand that has a pre-spend game. Lots of houses have, you know, pre-spend. I mean, like if you like cars, you know the shenanigans that are going on at McLaren, at Porsche, at Lamborghini and Ferrari. I mean, Ferrari puts people through it. Ferrari can make, you know, people cry, honey. Okay, they're not playing with you. Like, it is very hard. Even Land Rover, I'm hearing now, if you want to buy like a new Range Rover, it's like quite difficult if you're not known to Land Rover and all of this. So when people kind of say like, oh, I don't know why you'd want, you are begging for a brand to take your money. Yeah, it's true. It does kind of feel like begging. And sometimes I talk to some of you privately and I tell you like, if Big H, as a joke, like if Big H calls me poor, I'm taking my money, I'm gonna go buy my Dior Exotic. I'm buying my Dior Exotics anyway, whatever happens with Big H. Big H is not the sort of like reason for this, but it's just like me cracking a joke. And when people say like, oh, you're begging, I mean, whatever. I mean, who cares? Like, people spend tons of money doing all kinds of stuff. I have a friend who collects coins, and she was telling me about that community, and people spend tons of money collecting coins and collecting notes and things like this. So, but how come no one's having a go at them? But if it's a woman buying a handbag, it's a problem. Or if it's a woman buying like a luxury fashion product, it's a problem. I think this is because a lot of people, and unfortunately a lot of women, okay, have problems with women spending a lot of money. And I think that's really what this is about, because I don't see the same energy for men. And like I've said, because I think it's like now that like 15% if you watch my channel are men. It's not the lads, it's not the men who are going in on the women here. I mean, a lot of the really nasty comments honestly are from women, and even on my channel a lot of it is women, and it's like someone with a profile pic who leaves like a really nasty comment like, I can't believe you just waste your money, blah blah blah, buying all this stuff. So I think a lot of it boils down to people feeling very uncomfortable with the idea of women spending a lot of money that they have either earned themselves directly or they've inherited that money. That's something we're going to talk about as well. Or their partner, husband, boyfriend wants them to spend that money. And I think for some reason that really seems to make people angry. So they attack the Big H game by proxy of that. But this is really about women spending their own money. And that seems to really make people annoyed. And I don't really understand why, but I really think that's what that is about. Now, I also don't really understand how people can like be worried about the Big H game if they don't shop at Hermes. That's also something I don't understand. So like on this woman's TikTok, she really goes on these rants against Big H and the pre-spend game. And I'm like, but you don't shop at Big H, so what difference does it make? But then I was thinking, you know what? There's certain things I'm not interested in. So for example, for me, I don't like counterfeit luxury products. Like, I have no interest in that. I have no interest in reps, mirror one-to-one reps, whatever they're called. I have no interest. I know that there are a lot of women who are very successful and buy fake handbags. I mean, if you want to do that, you go do that, if that makes you happy, but that's not what Haya Glamazon is about, and I will never endorse or tell you to go and do that. But if that is your thing, you go do you, honey, go make yourself happy. But I'm not like that. That's not something which I'm personally interested in. And I think that, for example, I wanted to tell you something which I saw recently. I won't tell you who it is. I won't tell you what bag it is, but I'll tell you the brand. Okay, so I was talking so passionately and then my camera died. So this is what I wanted to tell you. So I won't tell you where I saw this or who it is because it doesn't matter. And I don't have a beef with this person or anything like that. But I was sent a video, and it's of an offer from Big H. The offer doesn't, to me, it doesn't look authentic. It doesn't look like it's a real offer. Now, I'm not interested in counterfeits and mirror reps and all the rest of it, whatever they're called. I just don't care about counterfeits and fakes. But if that's what people are interested in, they can go buy those things and they can go do that. My issue is when people pass them off as the real thing. And I felt like in this video, the person was passing off the offer as the real thing, and it's not the real thing. And I feel like many people don't want to be rude. People might watch it and be like, okay, well, that bag could be real, it may not be, but definitely as someone who likes Big H, I would definitely say that I'm a big LV, big C, Big H person. I'm definitely a Versace girl as well. I feel like it's like when you're really into the brand, you can really see when things sometimes look a bit weird, look a bit off, and if something is counterfeit. But you're not accusing anyone of anything. Anyway, and the individual's definitely passing the bag off as the real thing, and it's definitely like if you're a big H girl or big H guy, you would know that it's not real. Now, for some people, they're happy to have replicas and pass them off as real and talk about them as if they're real bags. I know that what people say is that. Like a woman who's really wealthy or rich, no one is going to assume that the bag is fake. I mean, some super fakes are really good, and I know what you're saying. There's some really great fakes, particularly Big H and Chanel fakes. There's some really good ones, but I personally don't see the point of that because I feel like it's just a waste of time and energy. You could just go and you could just even just go to a market. You could come to Tanzania, I could take you to a local market. You can get a handmade, artisan-made bag, and it's not going to cost you, you know, €1,000 or however much those like mirror wraps are. But the point of me bringing that up is everyone is actually part of the Big H game. Even the people who think that they're beating the man, in this case, Big H, Big C, Louis Vuitton, the people who think they're beating the man by not buying the real thing, or I don't buy real big LV bags and everyone thinks it's real. Well, you're still promoting the Louis Vuitton brand. You're still promoting the Chanel brand. So why bother if for you you don't want to play the game at Big H, you don't want to do all these things, you don't want to pay the full price, just go and buy like an artisanal handbag or go support contemporary designers. I personally don't understand that. If people want to go do that, that's fine. I just don't want to see their videos. I don't want YouTube to recommend their videos to me. And the way that this video was done, it was done very cleverly. It was done very cleverly. Like, you have to be someone who's into Big H to know that that bag wasn't real. And it really wasn't. But anyway, I think you get what I'm saying. So I think in general, right now, we're just in this luxury Hunger Games era. And it's so crazy. I mean, I was researching my Paris trip and I was trying to think about, like, you know, how to get into Chanel. And Chanel, apparently, Cambon is a nightmare. When you get in there, it's hours and hours and hours to be seen. Avenue Montaigne's a nightmare. Hours and hours and hours to be seen as well. Many people can't even get appointments into Cambon. They have to book weeks in advance. That's not possible for me because I can only book in advance once I have a visa. I was reading about Audemars Piguet and same thing. It's complete chaos there at the boutique in Paris, like people being turned away. You have to make an appointment. They don't reply. There are a lot of men complaining about the AP boutique on Google reviews, saying it's terrible, and saying that they never get back to you. They never will call you back about your appointment. And then when you go there, the guard will tell you to go away. You don't have an appointment. It's like the Hunger Games. All of these brands, Big H gets most of the attention just because there's so many shenanigans and drama with shopping at Big H. But Big H, Big C, Big LV, Audemars Piguet, Rolex, Patek, all of these brands, the car brands from McLaren, Ferrari, all of them are all participating in games as well. I mean, we saw it as well with the Gucci and Balenciaga release when that came out, the hourglass bags. They were so hard to get. People were fighting to get them. It was so hard to get. So I feel like that's the new era of luxury shopping today. It's all about games and shenanigans and who has the biggest spending power and who doesn't have a lot of spending power. So I'd love to know what you guys think of the new luxury Hunger Games and what are your thoughts on the new luxury Hunger Games. And just before I go, I want to mention something I'm noticing about a lot of new offers from Big H. I'm noticing that a lot of people who are being offered bags from Big H at the moment in different parts of the world are people who are kind of becoming their own essay. That's like a new trend I'm noticing with a lot of unboxings I'm seeing on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. People are becoming their own essays. People are advocating for themselves instead of just waiting for the essay to bring an offer, like after purchases, reminding the essay, by the way, do you know about my wish list? Do you know this? But doing it in a way that isn't annoying, that's not pushy. I think we've seen what can happen when you become overly pushy at Big H. You know, there are a lot of tears and your heart can really be broken. But I'm noticing that people are becoming very ambitious in the way they push for their offers, but without coming across entitled. I want to give you an example. If I go to Paris and I'm going to go buy all of my bits and bobs, I go on my bait shopping spree. I don't expect to be given a walk-in appointment. I would love to get one, but I'm not going to the boutique with that in mind. I'm there to build my profile and to play the lottery. If the walk-in happens, that's fantastic. That is an example of not being entitled. Me being entitled would be me going to the boutique, buying all my bait items, asking for a walk-in, not getting a walk-in, and then getting upset. No. You are not owed the walk-in, you're not owed the Birkin, Kelly or Constance, but at the same token, BKH honey, the ponytail is not owed your money either. You can take your money to Fendi, you can go to Balenciaga, you can go to Ferragamo, etc. I have noticed that a lot of people are getting offers by being ambitious and very focused on what they want and pushing for their offers after purchases, but in a way that is done very subtly. If you want to chat more about it, please consider fully joining my Facebook group, because we talk about luxury and tips, and people share their experiences of getting offers. There are a bunch of people in the group who've got offers recently. I've seen a really beautiful Birkin Touch offer. I've seen a Lindy offer as well. There's some great Big H offers, and even Louis Vuitton. I mean, Louis Vuitton is part of the luxury Hunger Games. Like, who got the Virgil trainers on the website? Okay, I think there were like 1,500 or 1,200 trainers in the US. I think the EU had 3,000 trainers, and there are a bunch of people in the group who tried to get them as well, and they were so hard to get. All of these brands are practicing scarcity. It's not just Big H, and no, they're not all copying Big H, because Ferrari is not copying Big H, and AP is not copying Big H. They don't care. All of them are doing it because they can and because people will pay. There were so many of you fear mongering. Oh, there's a recession. There's this and that. All of these things are happening, and yes, absolutely, there are things happening in the world right now. Financially, there's no doubt about it. But why is the ponytail making a ton of money? I'm absolutely terrified to see Big C's numbers next year when she releases them in June, honey, because she's going to be doing that thing. Why is Louis Vuitton absolutely rammed? Why are things popping and lit? Why are luxury brands doing so well if there's a recession? Those of you who are fear-mongering, defend yourself in these comments, okay? I really hope that you like the format of this video. I think this video ended up being quite long. You'll let me know what you think. You know what to do. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and join my Facebook group. It's linked below as well. I'd love to know your opinions as usual. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video.